In 1975, deep inside Kodak's headquarters in Rochester, New York, a young engineer named Steve Sasson was working on a project that would change the world forever. He had just finished building the world's first digital camera. It was a bulky, terrifying-looking device, weighing nearly 8 pounds and held together by tape and wires. He was nervous as he invited his superiors to a small, dim conference room to witness history. He showed them the images appearing on a television screen. It was pure magic, but the reaction he got wasn't applause. It was silence. His bosses didn't see an invention. They saw a threat to their massive, multi-billion-dollar film empire. They told him to bury the technology, to hide it, and never speak of it again. They didn't know it yet, but that single moment of corporate arrogance was the beginning of the end. Today, we are dissecting the largest corporate suicide in history. This is the rise, the arrogance, and the tragic fall of the king of photography. For decades, Kodak dominated. They perfected the razor and blade business model. They sold cameras cheaply and captured massive, recurring profits through film and chemicals. It was pure, unadulterated genius. Why change a system that prints money? By the 1980s, Kodak was a titan, employing 145,000 people globally and holding an 85% market share in the U.S. photo film market. The Kodak moment wasn't just a marketing slogan, it was a cultural pillar. But this success, this obsession with their golden goose, created a dangerous mental trap. In finance, we call this the sunk cost fallacy. They had invested so much in film manufacturing plants, chemical labs, and global distribution networks that they couldn't conceive of a world where film didn't exist. They were protecting their past while the ground beneath them was already shifting. By the late 90s, the market shifted drastically. Competitors like Sony, Canon, and Nikon saw the future, digital. Kodak, meanwhile, was paralyzed. They were in a state of absolute denial. Let's look at the numbers and the catastrophic errors. First, the opportunity cost. They spent billions trying to force digital film onto a market that wanted instant digital sharing, instead of building the digital sensor infrastructure that was clearly winning. Second, the boardroom failure. Executives were more focused on protecting current quarterly dividends to satisfy Wall Street than long-term survival. They were fighting a war in the past, pouring resources into film processing innovations that nobody wanted. They weren't just losing market share, they were losing their soul. Every decision made in those boardrooms was a desperate attempt to ignore the reality that their business model was effectively dead. January 2012. The end was official. Kodak filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy. An American icon gone. It wasn't just a failure of technology, it was a total failure of leadership. The company that invented the future chose to protect the past. And when you choose the past, the market eventually leaves you there. Kodak is more than just a history lesson. It is a brutal, expensive warning. Every industry, whether it's finance, social media, or AI, has its own Kodak moment. Every giant is one innovation away from being obsolete. So, here is the real question for you. Which tech giant today are we watching that is too afraid to innovate because they are protecting their cash cow? Is it a social media giant? A legacy bank? Leave your theories in the comments. And if you're ready to master the anatomy of business, make sure to subscribe to Fortune Files. See you in the next deep dive.